Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders, the podcast. It is a Listen Up Livingston edition, and for his third appearance on this show, Jeff Hard, welcome.
Yes, I'm becoming a regular.
I'm telling you, we're getting used to seeing you, folks. I asked Jeff to come on today. We're about a week out from the the big day, the election.
Big day.
5 days actually, as of this recording, that we've got left before the Saturday the 14th.
Yes, early voting is over with, so the only thing left is October 14th.
That's it. And I know it's been a long road for you. You've been everywhere.
Yeah, you name it. I mean, we started February.
Yeah.
We've been running hard ever since, trying to get to every event that I could possibly get to.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of work,
I see why presidents come out and they're grayer when they, and when they have hair and
we just shave that off.
Yeah, that's right. We ain't got to worry about the gray. We get it in the goatee.
Yeah.
But I've seen you everywhere. You've really worked hard. I know you did recently a Livingston Parish chamber event.
Yes.
Where it was, I enjoy seeing the candidates communicate on the same stage and, speak on their platforms. Thought you did a great job there. Saw you at the Denham Springs Fall Fest. We just had great weather.
Yep, Fall Fest. We actually did the fair parade that morning.
Yeah.
Left the parade and come over to Fall Fest. So it's just been like that every weekend, trying to fit in.
Yeah. I was disappointed. I did, there were some candidates. I was glad to see candidates there, and some were strangely missing for whatever reason. But would have liked to seen everyone there because I think from a constituent standpoint, like I am, you want your elected officials or those seeking election to be accessible,
right? And I mean the Spring Fest. We were all standing together.
Yep.
We have a Republican tent that's on the main corner right there at the train station.
Yeah.
And it was probably 15 of us to 20 of us standing there for Springfest. But it was maybe 3-4 of us for Fall Fest.
Yeah, not as many as you'd like to see. And I did see Buddy Mincy was out there. He had a big tent.
It was a couple of them had their own tents. So they were in other locations, but for the most part. Now, I heard there was a couple of them that come a little early and then left, or they just walked around and didn't stand there and politic.
Yeah.
And I've been to quite a few of them, and I have learned that you see more people if you stand in one spot than if you move around.
That's right. And they're more apt to walk up to you.
Right.
If you're they may think you're heading somewhere and don't want to stop you or hesitant to stop you. So I did see you hanging around the Livingston, what was it?
It's the RPEC, the Republican tent. We actually share it with the Republican Women's.
Okay.
So we do that the Spring and Fall Fest. We always do it together.
Very good, very good. Several councilmen were out there. Tracy Garlandhouse was out there. I saw him and a few more. So you have definitely been making the rounds, and it all comes down to this,
Yes.
And so we're going to do a little comparison because, primarily the nice thing about your particular race is that number one, there's only two of you.
Yes.
Number two, what is really interesting is that you're both doing kind of the same thing right now. You're both councilmen.
Yes.
So it's an easy comparison to make. And so I put together some numbers. There were some you were kind enough to lead me in the right direction with and come up with on some comparisons that mattered to voters. I think the first thing maybe we want to talk about is I saw you were endorsed by RPAC.
Yes.
Which you just talked about. And that's a great endorsement, and they're doing good things over there at RPAC. But you're also aren't you a member of RPAC, an elected member?
Yes. Me and Randy both are elected members of the RPAC.
Okay.
I serve my district, and he serves his district. We're elected by the people to serve
on that
in the capacity for our people.
I see. And so you're. There's I guess you're expected to show up when you're elected. Yes. I don't know a better way of putting it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do have, we take roll. We have an attendance record. I'm there 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And I will say that, it's not something that you do go to 100% of the time, because there are times when it's really not much going on, but we still have the meetings.
Yeah. And things come up.
And we do give our proxies, so there's a way to make sure that your voice or your vote is still happening. But, I reached out to, whenever we were going for the endorsement, and talked to some of the other Republicans and on the RPEC, and they said, we don't have a problem with endorsing you, because your running mate is only here 12% of the time.
12%. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense why you would get the endorsement. That's basically 1 out of every 10 times, essentially, versus 8 out of every 10 meetings that you attend. And those are important, and those matter to me and a lot of other people, I would imagine, because you're elected to that position. You're expected to kind of participate.
Right. I mean, you're the voice of your people.
Yeah.
They expect you to go to the meetings and represent them. And, and our job is to get qualified Republicans elected to whatever seat it may be that they're running for, from governor all the way down.
As important as it is to show up for those RPEC meetings, it's even more important to show up for your council meetings. Yes. I mean, that's your direct kind of responsibility is the council. And the other side of that is a lot of votes take place. And
a lot.
If you're not there, you can't vote.
Cannot vote, So, and look, we represent each councilman represents about 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And I'm one that's always said, I will always listen to a councilman because they are the voice of 15,000 people.
Right.
So I might not always agree with them, but, I kind of try to roll with them when it's about their district.
Yeah.
Because that's who the people elected to be their voice.
That's right. That's right. And so it's important to show up. And how many meetings have you missed, say, in the last 4 years or so?
Three
That's
meetings.
Not very much. And so that's good. Shout out to you.
And the 3 meetings I missed, 2 of them were for back surgeries.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. And things do come up, and like a back surgery. And of course, you're going to need to handle your business on that. We'll talk about the guy that you're running against. And how many meetings has he missed in?
He's missed 13 meetings.
Okay.
In the past 4 years.
Wow. 13 meetings. And I'm sure some votes were taking place during those meetings.
Yes. So the calculation that I come up with, I did a request for him. He's missed 177 votes, and I've missed 41 votes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you he's almost triple the amount of votes that you missed. And look, that's a major thing. Yes. I mean, and I'm not saying some of those weren't for legitimate reasons. I'm sure they were. Mm-hmm. But you're expected to show up when you're voted in by the people.
Yeah.
If you're for the people, you're expected to show up to your meetings and things like that. Stuff happens. We all understand that. But 13 meetings is a bit excessive in my opinion.
I mean, look, I can tell you when I had my back surgeries, I had times that I was not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be at home still resting, but I just, my wife drove me to the meetings. I had some of the councilmen help me, walk in, get up to my chair and sit down so that I wouldn't trip. And I did my job, and I went back home and rested.
Yeah.
And I always plan my meetings when sometimes we have a 3-week span because of the way the calendar falls out. I would always plan it to where, it was the Friday after a meeting that we had, and I had a 3-week span. So I felt like I would be good. And there was a couple of times I just wasn't quite ready.
Yeah.
But
and that's important to mention. You bring up a good point in that you're not meeting once a week. It's once every 2 weeks. So it's 2 days a month, essentially.
Right.
Now, we know you work a lot more than that, but just two committed days per month on average that you're expected to show up for those meetings. So in 4 years, he's missed 13 meetings, which equates to about over 6 months total.
Right.
That he's missed in meetings over 4 years time span. I mean, and we're just comparing facts here.
Yes.
So, think about that. Campaign finance. Let's talk about
campaign finance. So, I kind of did a little comparison. probably about 2 years ago. And there were some issues brought up that we can kind of go into in a little bit on looking into where money's spent in our parish.
Yeah.
And I just kind of went and looked into the campaign finance because I said, look, if there's one way we can see where our money's spent with the politicians, it's our campaign finances.
Yeah.
And I pulled mine and I pulled Tracy Garlinghouse.
Yeah.
Because we were kind of on the west side. And I have spent 98% of my money in Livingston Parish.
Love it.
In Livingston Parish. And I consciously do that.
Yeah.
Because I know that the tax dollars will stay in my parish.
Yeah.
But I was shocked when I pulled Randy's campaign finances.
Yeah.
And he collected just over $21,000 for his last campaign.
Yeah.
And he spent just over $16,000 in other parishes.
Wow. Yeah.
Not Livingston Parish. So he's not paving roads in Livingston Parish. He's paving roads in other parishes.
Well, and I'll tell you, that is a huge pet peeve, and I'm one of these people. I go look at those campaign finance reports and look at where they're spending the money that they're being given, by citizens to help support them, and it flies out of the parish. There's no bigger pet peeve in the world for me than that, because if I donate to a campaign, I intend on that money staying in the parish that I'm donating in and going towards what I'm pushing. In that situation, for the majority, you used an example of 2019, which was the last time that he ran a campaign prior to this one.
Yes.
And $16,000 of 21,000 or so is going outside of the parish. We got plenty of people here that can print up your posters and
yes,
and do your websites.
And that's what led me into, since I've looked at this, let's do a comparison now, because what we're doing right now is a lot larger scale than running for a council seat.
Yeah, it is.
And I pulled it up, and I've seen where he has spent $126,000 out of the parish.
That's money.
That's money.
That's real money.
I have spent 85% of my money in Livingston Parish.
And made a conscious effort to do so. It sounds like
most of the stuff that I did not purchase here, I couldn't find it here.
Right, and that's important to mention. Look, there's some things, folks. Everybody knows that I'm all about local business and all those sorts of things. There are sadly just some things that I just can't get locally, but guaranteed I do my research first locally before I ever buy anything out of the parish.
I feel like that I should spend as much of my money as I can in this parish.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that will be over which roads get paved, which ditches get cleaned. So right. I need to spend as much of my money as I can in this parish. Yeah. And that's what I do.
So there's the comparison there, folks. And you can research that for yourself. You can go to the campaign finance portal and you can just pull it up and do the math yourself. And you may be surprised on that. Parish Chamber did a really good event that we mentioned earlier. It wasn't just you guys. It was several elected officials and those seeking election that were featured in this event. And the chamber did a good thing in that they televised this for those of us that just could not make it fit in our schedule to be there.
Right.
I love that. That's one of the reasons I do what I do, is because I know that people get busy and they have lives and kids and events and bands and all those sorts of things. And so it enables them to watch something at their leisure. In that event, some things came up that I personally kind of raised my eyebrow in your particular race. And one thing that has been a hot topic is animal control. And that has been for a long time. It's people would be shocked to know the amount of money it costs for animal control. Yeah. I thought, you put up a couple of chain link fences and you're done. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. I mean, you have medicine, you have food. Yeah. I mean, it really takes a lot of money, and then you got to have people that take care of them all the time. Right. You got to have people to go pick them up. You got to have a vehicle to pick them up. You know, it's just not as easy to say, we're just going to throw some money towards it. I mean, you truly got to have a plan. You have to have the right people running this for you. And there's some hot topics with animal control that you have to talk to of, there's kill, no kill.
Yeah.
And I have been openly about this from day one that I want to sit down with the animal lovers, sit down with the Humane Society, and we come up with a plan together.
Absolutely. And we all we're all animal lovers, and we know that our pets are like family, and there's a way of controlling that population, and there's a lot behind that. And I know that you are definitely on board with getting a solution to that issue. Of course, as you grow as a parish, that's something you just gotta find money for at some point.
Yes.
So I say all that to bring you back to that chamber event. And in that chamber event, that question was asked, and Randy Delatte, who you're running against, had a solution for that, and I perked up when I heard that, because I'm like, this is great. And so we're going to play the clip of what he said at this event, and then we'll talk about it. So the clip's right here.
We receive $30 million off a 3/4 cent sales tax every year. We spending $12 million of it. I don't know where the rest of it is going. I have intentions of getting support to take the $12 million and bond it and have $100 million in August of this year.
Okay, so what y'all just heard was Randy was talking about a solution to this animal control problem, and essentially what he's saying is take $12 million, move it out of the road funds, and apply that towards animal control.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So it was kind of hard to hear up there. So the best I could hear what he was saying is he was going to take $12 million and do a bond and get $100 million. Okay, well, that $100 million has to be spent on roads because the people voted for their money to be used for roads and drainage.
Yeah,
not animal control.
Yeah,
that's against the law. You cannot do that.
It's basically earmarked for that
roads.
Particular
it's roads and the jail. That's what that's earmarked for. So if you go take a bond out using the road money, then it has to be used on roads.
Yeah.
I mean, if it
that's for the protection of the people. If I vote in a tax for roads,
yes,
I don't want somebody to be able to have the control to just willy-nilly spend that wherever they want.
Right, and that's the reason why it's done that nowadays. Yep. We don't have a lot of unrestricted money in the parish government. It's all dedicated. It has to be spent the way the people pass the taxes.
Yeah.
They tell us this is where we want our money spent.
Yeah.
And it does make it hard sometimes because it makes it to where it's hard for us to have matching funds when, big drainage projects come up, when we don't have a lot of drainage money and it's already dedicated to do drainage work on. So it does make it tough. I mean, we have a budget of 75 to 100 million, and a lot of that depends on grants. That's why it's such a big span between 75 and 100, because it depends on what type of grants we get.
Yeah.
And to determine if we're going to get closer to the 100 million or stay closer to the 75.
That's exactly right. Grant writers are worth their weight in gold.
Oh yeah, you
get a good grant writer.
A good grant writer could take care of a lot of our problems.
Yeah,
it really could.
That's right.
And that's one of the things I've always said, that I will find a grant writer.
Yeah.
For the parish.
Yeah, there's but so while the premise of what he's saying is admirable, that you want to find money for animal control. I think both candidates are on that same wavelength. The problem is the solution is just not doable. It's illegal.
Not that way. Look, I have some ideas that I think I win, I can go work with the council and say, hey, here's my solution, but I need the help of the council to do it. Mm-hmm. One, we're fixing to get some new money in our parish.
Yeah.
Through sports betting.
Yeah.
That's
exciting news.
That's money we've never received before. It's money that's not really earmarked at this point.
Yeah.
So we could have the council earmark this to go towards animal control.
Yeah.
We don't know how much it's going to be because it hasn't started rolling in yet.
Yeah.
But at this point, anything we get is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have that money. I have some events that I want to start yearly doing to make money for animal control. And then I do have another.
I think that's a wonderful thing. A 5K.
Right.
5K,
I mean, look, I went on vacation and went to a huge event in Gatlinburg and just walking around and ran into the right person and said, what is this for? He said, well, all proceeds go to our animal shelter.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And I was like, man, we need to do this in Livingston Parish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you're working on something there that is actually doable and feasible. Mm-hmm. And look, there'll be more on the horizon. And question about earmarks. So let's just play a little hypothetical game here. And if that money came to fruition from, say, sports betting, and you had this extra money, would it require a vote of the people to earmark it, or
no?
You can
no, but the council can. The council can actually earmark it and say, hey, we want to put this in animal control.
Gotcha. So there you go. Your representative would so whatever you think about it, you call your representative, you let him know.
Let him know. Yeah.
I think everybody would be on board for that happening. I can't imagine anybody really not being on board for that. And y'all have done several things outside of just the chamber event where both of y'all have talked and kind of said your platform.
Channel 33 had asked us both about taxes. And I said, I thought there were some taxes that we could probably look at and maybe redirect some of the money. Now we would have to go back to the people and ask them if they would redirect it. I mean, that's pretty much what we did with the road money when they redirected 25% of it to the jail.
Yeah.
So there's some other options there to redirect some money. But he had said that he would like to give money back to the taxpayers.
Okay.
Well, that kind of caught my ear when he said it, because we just passed a pink tax. Mm-hmm. What the pink tax is for feminine products that females have to use. Yeah. And what it was is the council gave them an exemption for those products from the road tax.
Yeah. So they don't have to pay that extra those products.
Right. That extra 1 cent.
That's great for single moms. And,
single moms.
Working moms.
Moms are struggling. You know, even a family.
Sure.
Just a family that's struggling. I mean, sometimes, an extra $5 means keeping electricity on.
Amen.
And Randy he fought against it. So to me, that was an opportunity to give your people some tax money back and keep it in their pockets.
Yeah.
And I was one to say, look, it does take some money out of our road money.
Yeah.
We lose a little bit, but look, I just have to say, sometimes putting food on the table is a little bit more important than paving a road.
Yeah.
We still have plenty of money to pave roads because we're not paying back bonds anymore.
Right.
The bonds are paid for. We have a lot of money that we're not used to having, so let's see where it gets us. But in the meantime, if we can give some of the families that are struggling in our parish a little break, let's give them a break.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I don't, that was something that maybe not a lot of people realize that the council did in a good way. Not sure why Randy would fight that, but shout out to the ones that didn't and really looked out for families and those that may be struggling. Hey man, extra $5 matters.
Yes, it does.
You don't just serve in the council meetings. So you have committee meetings, finance committee meetings, for example, and whatnot. And essentially you nominate a chairman and that person chairs that. And that's extra work. That's
right
outside of what maybe you were technically elected to do. But it's, everybody kind of takes the brunt of that.
Yeah.
I know at one point you were chairing everything. Like
it feels like it.
Yeah.
I've been on finance from day one. Yeah. All 8 years I've been on finance. I've been the chairman, 3 or 4 times I've been the chairman. And then when I was chairman of the council, it's when you're the chairman of the council, it's part of your duty is to nominate councilmen to be on our committees.
Sure.
Which the 2 main committees we have is ordinance and finance.
Right.
And we've created some other ones along the way. We had a master plan committee that we nominate to. I mean, there are some other ones, but that's our 2 main ones.
Yeah.
Like we're the ones that sit in the chairs. Right. We are the committee.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it's the same councilmen that always step up to be on the committees. Yeah. Because I know when I was chairman last year, I went to Randy, I went to Gerald, I went to Shane, I went to John, Tracy, I went to every one of them, said, okay, who wants to be on ordinance?
Yeah.
Now who wants to be on finance? And, the same people volunteer every time.
Yeah.
And you can't talk other ones into doing it. Now, I will say this, that I felt like the one that really had a free ride on saying I'm not quite ready was Gerald McMorris. And he said, look, let me get in here and learn this job.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out, and then I'll be ready to get on every committee y'all want us on.
Yeah.
And I saw when that switch flipped in him.
Yeah.
It was about halfway through my chairmanship that you could see, hey, I'm ready.
Yeah.
But other than that, every single one of us had the experience. We had the knowledge. We've been there before. And to me, everybody's hands should have went up. Well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'm here to make stricter ordinances for my people.
Yeah.
I'm here to keep administration in check and look at the finances and make sure the money's going in the right place.
Right.
That's my job. That's what I'm here for. But it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was hard to fill the committees.
Yeah.
And
in Randy's case, how many has he served on?
He hasn't served on anything till this year.
Gotcha.
And,
wow.
Yeah. And this year he chose to be on ordinance and finance. Yeah. And he's the chairman of finance right now, and you could go back and look at the chamber deal, and he says he's the chairman, but
it's funny you bring that up because in that chamber event, he had mentioned he didn't know. As a matter of fact, we're going to play exactly what he said right here because I don't want to misquote him. He brought up finance, reports and things like that you get as councilman, and he had what I would consider would be a legitimate gripe if you weren't getting the information, and he had discussed that. So we'll play that right here. Here's that clip.
For our government to work, it has to be transparent. I sit on the council 4 years. I am now currently the finance chairman, okay? Those 4 years I'm sitting, I don't know where the money's at. I'm asking questions. I get texts that says, yeah, come see me in the office, or look, I send you this. I only get and receive pieces of things at a time. I can't look at the whole picture. So I see people in this audience right now that has approached me and said, look, we're trying to get public records. We're trying to find out where this money went. We're trying to find out when the dredging is going to start. No one can get any information from parish government now.
So what you heard right there is Randy saying that, one of the issues that he has is he doesn't have access to the numbers and he doesn't see where all the money's going and all these sorts of things.
And that kind of blew me away. because like I said, I've been on finance from day one. We were having finance meetings once a month.
Yeah.
We recently went to every quarterly because it's not a lot of changes that happen. The biggest change is the check register.
Yeah.
And we get a copy of every check that's written. We were getting it once a month. Now we get it quarterly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know where the money's going, you're not paying attention.
Right.
Because I got booklets that I can show you, that our finance director gives us at every finance meeting and says, here's where all the checks were written. We have the amount of the check, who it's written to, the date it was written. I mean, you absolutely can see where every penny is going.
And that finance director's name is?
Jennifer Myers.
And I'll tell you what, she's sharp.
Yes, she is. She's done a fantastic job for this parish.
Yeah, and I ain't someone that likes to balance my checkbook, much less an entire parish's finances. And I would hate to have to. It takes a very special person. I think she's done a wonderful job, and so in that situation, I see the meetings where she stands up and goes over all this stuff, and she'll say 90% of the time, well, it's in your packet.
Right. It's in your packet.
So the numbers are there.
The numbers are there. All you have to do is open that packet up and go through it. And I've had her tell me, look, if you don't understand it, come sit down in my office and we'll go over it. Yeah. And I have probably 3 times in the last 8 years went and sit down with her and said, I don't understand this. Explain it to me. And okay, let's go through it.
Yeah, she does a good job, and I do see on the things they post on YouTube that you're getting packets and you're getting numbers. Let's talk a little bit about. I know one thing that has been a highly debated topic in this election, especially for parish council seats, but especially for your seat that you're running for, parish president, is the building. And new residential and homes and subdivisions and all these sorts of things that, when you're living in a community, you hate, right? I mean, nobody wants, you want as little people around you as possible. You become totally antisocial when you buy a house usually. And everybody gets that. As a matter of fact, when you first decided you were going to run for office, one of the stories you shared with us was it was because of a new residential mega subdivision.
Because of that, I was on Buddy Ellis Road, and they built Woodland Crossing, which is one of the larger ones in our parish. And we packed up and left. We sold. We moved to the north side of the parish, which is where we live at now. And, when I got there, I was just kind of like, I was there first.
Yeah.
And I went to a couple of council meetings and I'm trying to figure it out. And I said, I was just about ready to start complaining. And I said, man, instead of sitting out here being a complainer, how about just run and make a difference?
Yeah.
And I did. And I went in and I advocated for zoning and stricter ordinances. And I found out real quick that if you cannot get 4 other people to agree with you, it's not happening.
You're spinning your wheels.
You're spinning your wheels. Yeah. I mean, you can fight and fight and fight, but you have to have 4 other people agree with you on that council.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting from your perspective. One of the things that we've discussed and that I've been able to verify is people may be surprised to know that you ain't approved a whole lot of new residential subdivisions over your time at all. I mean, this is going to shock you, this number.
Yeah. So I kind of looked back into it and said, I'm going to see how many subdivisions have been approved and built in my district since I've been a councilman of 8 years.
Yeah.
One.
That's it.
Whispering Springs.
Yeah.
It's the only subdivision in District 1 that's been approved and built since I've been a councilman.
That's pretty good. And your people in District 1 ought to be very proud of you. And look, that's not throwing shade on new residential people, builders and such. But it's highly contested right now. And it's something that you have to look at someone's record. The great thing about you two guys is you have a record.
We have a record. We have a record. So when I did that, I said, well, I mean, look, I'm not bashing Randy. I'm trying to show a comparison. Yeah. But I went back and said, well, let me see some of the subdivisions that he's approved. Now, this is not in Randy's district, and I do have subdivisions that I have approved that's not in my district. So I don't want this misconception that I'm not out there voting for subdivisions to be approved. Now, what I do is I do follow the lead of the councilman that the people vote to be their voice.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they are the voice of 15,000 people.
And you follow the law.
And I follow the law.
Yeah.
So if the developer's following the law and the councilman says yes, you're probably getting a yes out of me.
Yeah.
But I went back and said, in 2016, we all know what happened. The worst flood this parish has ever seen. I was in my office for 8 months.
Yeah.
Not one subdivision was approved and built in 8 months that had anything to do with that flood.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to name a few subdivisions that has my opponent's name as approving them.
Yeah.
That were a part of that. Meadowwood, Acadiana Place, Woodland Crossing. Remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
From me selling my house?
Yep.
Harrell's Ferry Landing, Whispering Pines, Lakes of Meadowbrook, South Point, Plantation Lakes, Montrose, South Haven.
Yeah. And so there's a direct comparison. Now we say that to say, we I'm sure definitely want to say that we love the people in those subdivisions.
We do. We do.
Look, I know some people in Montrose. Shout out.
Me too. I got a very good friend in Montrose. A very, very good friend. That's a great
subdivision.
Yes.
So we're not. But the point of the matter is, when you stand on a platform, and you need to know where these candidates' records are, and if you're gonna say I am anti anything, you need to verify.
You got to show it, and that's the thing, he says that, we got to stop the development. We got to do this. Well, when you was police juryman and a councilman 25, 30 years ago, had you brought in zoning, had you did your job then, we wouldn't be facing the problems we have now.
Right.
I have advocated for that since I have been here. I have been trying to make the laws that will protect the people that live here now.
Yeah.
I think that I don't want people to be able to come here. I mean, as a Christian, what kind of person would I be to say you can't bring your children to the good school systems we have and the safety that our law enforcement provides?
That's right.
I mean, I just wouldn't be a good Christian if I said that. But I can say, don't bring your problems with you.
Yeah.
You come here to live like we're living because of what you're bringing them for. Leave your problems where they're at. Don't bring them with you.
Yeah.
And I will advocate for that.
Absolutely.
But I've always fought for, how can we build Livingston Parish better? And my record proves that.
Yeah.
We tried the first year I was on the council after the flood, it's the worst flood we ever had. But what can we do to make a difference? Well, how about a dirt field?
Yeah.
Let's look at doing a dirt field.
Yeah.
Let's make it to where they can't build these 6-foot mounds of dirt, because that's what was happening after the flood.
Yeah.
People were building these 6-foot mounds of dirt, putting their houses on top of them. I'm never flooding again. And we start seeing, the poor guy next to you that can't afford to build his house up. Right. You're throwing the water on him. So we have to do something. So we wrote a dirt field ordinance. We were ready to present it that night. And the night that we were doing it, we had a citizen that showed up, stood at the podium, and fought it. And fought it hard.
Yeah.
His name was Randy Delatte.
Yeah. Huh.
He fought the dirt field that we tried to pass. I mean, you can go look it up. It's facts. This is not stuff I'm making up. If you're going to protect the people, let's protect them.
Yeah.
You know, and look, if Randy beats me Saturday, I'm still going to hold his feet to the fire. If you're saying you're going to be the people's guy, then I'm going to make sure you're the people's guy. I'm not just going to go away because I live here.
Right.
My children live here. You know, my mom, my dad, my brothers, you know, family lives here. And I'm going to make sure that this is done right.
Yeah. Well, I believe that. And you know, it's important. And what we want to come across as is just a conduit for people to get facts. There's nothing, you could go back through every podcast you've done with me. There is nothing we've ever said that is not verifiable. As Deion Sanders would say, we're bringing receipts.
Right. Yep.
and that's not throwing shade on him, but this is just, you know, your candidate that you're running against in this election, and you have to consider both sides.
Yes.
And so that's what this whole point of this particular podcast is about. Let's compare apples and apples.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing here today. Now, you know, let's talk about PACs for a minute. And look, you'd laugh when I tell you this, but I have saved every single mailer that I've gotten so far, and I counted them the other night. I had 77 different mailers from candidates. And I'm not one of these people. I know a lot of people just chunk them, they say, and all that. Look, I read them, and there's a lot of people that do read them, and they're not cheap, so I feel like I should read them.
No, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap at all. But there was one recently that came out, and you know, it was a little more in depth as far as speaking on the temperament of people. And you know, temperament's important. Number one, it's important whether you're running on the council for parish president, whether you are a councilman, whether you're anybody. Your temperament matters as a public official because you're representing. In y'all's case, you'd be representing the whole parish. You are their representative. When people look at Livingston Parish, they're looking directly at that parish president and saying, this is a representative of the people. So it's very important that integrity be upheld, in my opinion. There was a mailer recently that came out, and it spoke of your opponent's temperament. So I guess the first thing I want to get out of the way is people do need to understand that PACs release these.
They released it. Yeah, we can't control them. They raise their own money. You know, they can do whatever they want. They can get in your middle of your race. They can help you. They can hurt you. I mean, it's just you have, as a candidate, you have zero control over it.
Yeah.
They have their own rules. They have to follow with ethics. You know, and you know, I hate that they can get in our races like that. Yeah. But they can. You know, they can get in them. You know, they can. You know, you could have someone that just has the money and they create their own PAC and say, hey, we're going after this person because we don't like him.
Yeah.
You know, and no regards to the person that's running against him.
Right. They may not even be for the person that's right. They may just be totally against
that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was one that came out on his temperament, but you know, it is facts.
Yeah. It's facts. I mean, look, I'll be honest with the people. It was all brought to me, and I said it's not coming out of my campaign.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't do it out of my campaign, and I just felt like, you know, I'm gonna run on Jeff. You know, and it turned the dynamics of this race, and now. You know, and I'm not faulting Randy. I mean, he had to counter it.
Sure.
You know, he put a little video out that kind of took a shot at me, and you know, and being a voice for the people that's funding it, and I haven't spoken to them.
Yeah.
You know, but I understand it's politics.
Sure.
You know, I mean, and sometimes nothing's off limits.
Yeah.
You know, when you sign up, you sign up. I mean, they're coming at you, you know, and if you have bones in your closet, they're gonna find them.
Yeah.
But you know, look, have I gotten upset with people? Yes. Have I lost my temper? Yes. Have I ever put my hands on anyone? No.
Yeah.
No. You know, I've gotten into screaming matches with other councilmen in the back, away from everybody else. We never touched each other at all.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't believe in that. I mean, the last time I got in a fight, I think I was 22 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I turned my life around when my daughter was born, and
Amen to that.
I live for my family.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just, you know, I mean, not only will you not see me put my hands on someone, you also will not see me drunk in a barroom.
Yeah.
That's just not me.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's something you do when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, but sooner or later you got to grow out of it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a leader of men.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. Is there, you know, you're in an elected position, you're representing the public, and at least from my perspective, you know, people live how they want to live, and all of that, and you know, I don't get on that tangent with people, but what I will say is if you're elected to a position to represent the people, you have a certain responsibility to adhere to that.
And it's 24/7.
Yeah.
It's not just in the meetings.
Yeah.
It's 24/7. I mean, you are elected position.
That's right.
I mean, and you have to carry yourself that way.
That's right.
And I try my best to do that. You know, I mean, I've literally had people, just constituents, you know, cursing at me, you know, because I'm not doing what they want to do. And, you know, and I just, you know, hey, I'll look into it, you know, and just, you know, sometimes you bite your bottom lip and you just turn and you walk away. And I try my best to do that. And I've been very proud of myself to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and just not get in to confrontations with people.
Right. So no drunken barroom fights for you coming up anytime soon.
No.
All right.
I'm way past that in life. way past that.
I get it. Well, and it was definitely something to bring up because it is hard to understand PACs and how they operate. A lot of people don't realize that there's a PAC around here that I won't hesitate to say I absolutely can't stand, and it's because I was attacked directly, and I wasn't even a candidate. That ought to be against the law. Maybe it is. We'll have to see.
Might be.
It might be waiting for the right time. But you know, there's PACs out there that really candidates have no control over. And but usually what they're putting out there is verifiable. It's
right.
It's just not necessarily something the candidate wants to engage in with another candidate a lot of times.
Yeah. And I mean, look, you know, like I said, the information was brought to me, so I knew it was factual.
Yeah, you could have put it out there,
but I really tried to be quiet about it.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point where I was being bashed so bad about it that you know, hey, I got to say something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's another mention of an incident in there with after a planning meeting.
Yeah.
And I think there was a misconception that they were talking about an issue that happened between Randy and Gary Talbert, which they did have some heated words after a meeting. I think there was a chest bump or something, you know, after the meeting.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at the date, what they're referring to is after a planning meeting, there was a vote that didn't go the way Randy wanted it to go. Yeah. One of the planning committee members that didn't vote the way he wanted him to vote walked up to a group of us that were standing there talking. I was talking to Randy. Gerald McMorris was there. School board member Ron McMorris was there. And, you know, that member shook my hand. He shook Gerald's hand. He offered his hand to Randy to shake his hand, and Randy had his arms crossed and just looked at him. And he asked him if he was going to shake his hand, and Randy said no. And he said, well, I'll never offer you my hand again. They had a few words, and next thing I knew, Randy pushes him in the chest. I step in the middle of them. Gerald kind of grabs the planning member guy, and they walk around the building to his truck. And we're sitting there like, hey, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. Well, next thing we know, we lose grip on him, and he follows the guy around the building to his vehicle. Now, what happened around there, I don't know, because I didn't follow. Yeah. At that point, I'm out of it.
Right.
I was told they just had words over there, and that was it.
Yeah.
They kind of finished their argument, and they walked away. But, me, I'm one that looks that as at some point you become the aggressor when you follow someone to their vehicle. I witnessed that. I saw that. I was standing there when it happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's right. And look, that's a serious situation, because from someone that knows a little bit about crime, I can tell you just pushing somebody's assault. Yeah. You just assaulted somebody. There is no world in which it's right to put your hands on another person just because you're pissed at them.
Right.
You can scream at them or whatever you want to do, but once you put your hands on them, you have just assaulted them.
Right. Right.
And that ain't good.
Yeah. And then, that's the thing, I'm very proud of the fact that I can contain my temper, because look, like I said, when I was 19, 20 years old, I was a little hot-headed too.
Me too. Gosh.
We all were.
Good thing we didn't run in the same circle.
Yeah. It was just, it's almost like a, part of life, and you learn that. But, right. I've said a bunch of times that, the two biggest changes in my life come through my daughter.
Yeah.
The day she was born, they put her in my hands. I went on a straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And then when she was probably 12 or 13, she started dating pastor's son.
Yeah.
At Revival Temple.
Yeah.
I have attended that church ever since then.
Wow. That speaks to another aspect of who you are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I hope people get that out of what they heard today. This was not a podcast that was meant to throw dirt on anybody or anything like that.
We're just
honest comparison.
Right. I wanted an honest comparison. I wanted the facts out there. I wanted people to, and I'll touch on one other thing.
Yeah.
And you've heard me say this before. A lot of people say, me and my brother.
Yeah.
But look, this is not about being my brother.
Yeah.
8 years ago when I ran, I never intended on running for parish president, because I have an extremely good job.
Yeah.
I'm giving up a lot.
Yeah.
I really am to do this for my people.
Sure.
And I really want to just serve the parish and do what I can to make it better.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to live here the rest of my life. I hope my children stay here.
Yeah.
I have a granddaughter. I hope she stays here. I tell my wife, if I decide to move, we move into the water.
Yeah.
Down to Diversion.
Yeah.
But I'm staying in Livingston Parish.
That's right.
I'm not leaving the parish. So but it's not about two brothers trying to get power.
Nah.
We were just brought up this way.
Yeah.
We're community people. We love our parish. We want to fight for it.
That's right.
We want to do the right thing. And I know I can do this job. I know I can bring the things the people want, which is transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
They have been asking for it for a long time. And with technology, we can easily give that to them. So one of the things that happened in the mid-'90s when he was there is, the landfill that's between Walker and Satsuma was expanded from 100 acres to 400-acre site.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that complain about that, I didn't vote to expand it.
No.
I didn't vote to put it there.
Right.
Is it a good thing for our parish? Some sense it is. I remember when a kid what that place looked like.
Yeah.
It was a big, huge hole in the ground, and we used to fill the back of the truck up once a week, go take all our garbage over there and just throw it off in the hole.
Yeah.
And that was what was considered the dump.
Sure.
And they kind of cleaned it up, and they brought somebody in there, and they're maintaining it. And they are kind of doing some good things, but there are still some unknowns. And
Sure.
and I know that the people that run it are trying their hardest to help with the smell, and do what they can. And they invest a lot of money trying to get rid of that smell.
Yeah.
You know, but did it have to be in our parish?
Right. Right.
You know, did we, you know, was that the only solution we had? I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
But Randy was there.
But Randy was there, you know, and I've kind of got a soft spot about it because my parents live about a mile and a half from it.
Yeah.
Which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm considered a Walker guy, and we deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's no, I don't fault the people that own it any more than I fault a developer.
Right.
If these groups come in and they say, we want to offer this service, what are your rules? And they follow the rules.
Yeah.
How do you fault them?
Yeah. You can't.
You cannot fault them. They're following the rules.
Yep.
So I go back to, we need people that will make the hard decisions to change the way our parish is built.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that. And you know, you fought a good, hard campaign, and it all comes down to, you know, the next 5 days. And so go out there and vote, folks. If you haven't voted already, let your voice be heard, you know, and make your choices accordingly, but do your research. Today was a research day.
Yes,
this is just all facts and all research. And any final thoughts before people head out there?
Yeah,
vote Jeff Hard.
Vote Jeff Hard. That's the biggest thing. You know, I mean, look, it has been a long road. I'm ready for Saturday. I've prayed. You know, I've had my talk with God. I'm ready to accept whatever the outcome is. You know, it comes down to the people at this point.
That's right.
But I know, you know, God has a plan. He's already picked who's going to be the leader of this parish.
Yeah.
And, you know, whoever's the victor, I mean, if it's Randy, you know, I mean, like I said, I'm going to support him, but I'm going to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
And I expect him to do the same thing to me. I absolutely. You know, so I mean, that's what we all should do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And from one old football guy to another, you've left it all on the field.
Yes, I have.
And you can look back on that and be proud of that.
I don't think there's anything else I could have done.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked as hard as I could possibly work. You know, I mean, one of the things I've been very proud of is 95% of the Jeff Hard signs that you see all over the parish.
Yeah.
Jeff Hard put them out.
Yeah, really?
I did not have a team running around putting my signs out for me. I did it.
Yeah.
I had
a lot of them.
and I had help when I was doing it.
Yeah.
But I was there for 95% of the signs that were put on the side of the roads, because I feel like if somebody calls and says, "Hey, come put your name in my front yard," I support you.
Yeah.
That I'm going to go do that myself.
Very good. Very good. So couldn't end it any better than that. Thank y'all so much for listening. Saturday, the October 14th, there's a lot going on that day, so do it early maybe, and and then get ready, because it's going to be a busy night.
Yeah, no matter what, we will have a new parish president.
That's right. That's right. So until next time, I'm Jim Chapman, reminding you to love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jeff.